My son Brendan was in high school, and then he dropped out of high school. I think he was in the 11th grade. And it broke my heart. I was mortified. I was upset. But I understood also what a struggle it was for him to, every year got harder and harder. So I understood his thinking, but it just had never occurred in my family, my husband's family. So to our family, it was just this horrible situation experience. He didn't, in 11th grade, just all of a sudden decide school was too tough. It started at the beginning, when he started school. It actually started before that, when I was getting him ready to go to school, and I knew that it was important to read to him. I read to my other two children. They sat still and listened. Brendan could not. So I tried everything, and one day I was at a Bible camp, and I noticed them using puppets, and I had not tried that particular technique. So I rushed home, made some puppets of the 3 pigs and the big bad wolf, and I told the story using puppets, and for the first time he was able to sit through an entire story. So that was the big aha eureka moment, and I made a million more puppets after that and started sharing that art form, particularly for people who have a hard time sitting still. And because it's addressing visual learners and auditory and kinesthetic learners, you are having such an impact in the classroom. For kids who can sit still, it's an enrichment. So either way, it's a win-win. So I got Brendan started in school, and he did okay, but he had a very hard time with reading, so I hired a tutor for a whole year. She came to our house once a week, and she was a reading recovery teacher. So when Brendan was in school, in elementary school, I think he was 6 or 7, he was diagnosed with ADHD, and he truly had that. It wasn't just to help him focus better, it was to help him focus, period. And he went on medication, and it helped immensely. But one of the side effects, or one of the symptoms of ADHD is lack of impulse control and consequences. You don't think of consequences. So the other children in the class knew that, and they would suggest, oh, Brendan, go do this and that, and he would end up in trouble. And so I would have to go up to school. He had an IEP because he had a learning disability and a medical condition that was, authenticated. And I always came away in tears because the teachers he was a hard child, and they just didn't like him. And he was still my son, and I knew the good parts of him, and I saw that. Perhaps they did not, but when you become a teacher, you get a mixed bag of students, and every day you should start off fresh with that student. So at any rate, I went to one IEP meeting that was particularly upsetting, and I thought of how Brendan was also my sunshine, and I came home and I made a puppet and I wrote a poem. I write poetry that accompanies all my puppets, so I'll share this with you. So yellow bird couldn't sit still. He flew up the mountain, he flew down the hill. He flew at home, he flew at school. It seems he broke almost every rule. Didn't like to sleep. He wouldn't stop to eat. He never walked slowly on his 2 little feet. And when he should have been in his nest napping, his wings wouldn't stop. They kept right on flapping. He'd wake every morning, screeching and singing, la 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 la, until his poor mother's head started ringing. And oh, how they all tried to make him fit in. fluff out his feathers, tuck in his chin, stand up straight, stop all that talking, learn to slow down, you better start walking. Now some birds aren't fast, they fly rather slow. Others aren't sure where they should go. Still others they fly in a single straight line. But I love that yellow bird, for you see he is mine. That sort of summed up my feelings of my son in school. And when he was in the lower grades, I had to help him with all of his homework and flashcards and assignments and organization, making sure every year he lost his coat, his winter coat. So it was just a trial. It was tough. But when he did drop out, and we contacted the literacy center, and Rita helped us get back on track and helped him through the process of getting his GED, and then he got his GED, and then the world was kind of open to him. He had a ticket to go with. Now he works at Nissan, and he's been married. He's 28 years old now. He's been married for 4 years. This November he's going to have his first baby. He's a really hard worker. He works 60, 70 hours a week. My other two children, I have a daughter who went to Smith College in Massachusetts, so it's considered an Ivy League school. My son went in the Navy, and he is now working for the Department of Defense as a missile computer expert. And Brendan works at Nissan, and he is the most financially solvent of my 3 children. So there is a lesson to be learned in there that it takes all kinds of people, and being the smartest doesn't necessarily translate into being the most successful. So that's how my connection with the Literacy Council